Have you ever wondered what happens when history carves its legacy into the wild spine of Vietnam? A long-lasting imprint of a time long gone, now transforming a once wartime lifeline into an epic motorbike pilgrimage. Could a route once veiled in jungle warfare truly be resurrected and restored, and now revealing the soul of a nation through its towering limestone karsts, mystic rivers, and remote mountain passes?
You have? No have. Okay, thank you.
Come join me as we begin our ride into the untamed Duong Ho Chi Minh Tay, chasing an adventure that resonates far deeper than a typical day-to-day motorbike journey. On our ride of today, we will also ask ourselves, what if the road ahead is not just asphalt, but memories that are etched with the scars of the war and the breath of thick jungle mist? And can we truly ride this stretch of the Duong Ho Chi Minh Tay Trail without feeling any of its pulse? Its pounding heartbeats that are echoing from the towering karsts, the whispering rivers, and the silence of mountain passes that was once shaken by terrifying conflict? If this sounds interesting to you, let's sit back and get our engines roaring as history stirs beneath our wheels, not only willing to chase the thrill and stunning scenery, but also ready to uncover the forgotten truth that is written deep into the spine of Vietnam's almost forgotten yesteryears. Our journey begins here in Khe Sanh, along the Duong Ho Chi Minh Tay Road QL15, and climbing across the 1,125-meter-high Samu Pass. After descending from this mountain saddle, we enter Quảng Bình province, riding beside the Long Dai River all the way to the village of Long Sơn Truong Son in the Quang Ninh district. It's a 5-hour, 135-kilometer-long adventure through deep valleys, primeval forests, and sparsely populated frontier lands. This is a region where petrol stations are few, and cell phone coverage is often non-existent, so better buckle your seatbelt, breathe deep, and prepare yourself for the unexpected.
Nice to meet you. Here, windmill. Wind turbine. Oh. Okay, see you.
And here we are riding right beside the towering giants of the Hung Phung Wind Farm, one of many wind-powered hills along this legendary QL15 route. These turbines, each nearly 150 meters in height, with blades that are stretching 70 meters, are wind power systems that rise like colossal machines of the future. A bit like out of the movie of the Transformers. And then, here we have the rare opportunity of watching one of these fans being transported along this narrow and winding road, and that really makes my heart pound, as I'm dwarfed by its magnitude. Tailing it, ducking beneath its blade, and flanking its path like an ant beside a spaceship. It's frankly overwhelming me as I feel so humbled and thrilled at once. It is such an amazing sight to see humanity's handiwork this close up, and right next to me, and then also knowing that this blade, once it is installed, will be spinning endlessly to power an entire district, which is a surreal fusion of nature, engineering, and economic ambition.
Serious development going on here.
We are now drifting past the Van Kieu village, which is locally known as Chen Ven, and a hidden gem tucked away deep within the embrace of the Hong Feng commune. This isn't just any village. It is a living, breathing canvas of wild, untamed nature and proud cultural identity, which is home to the resilient Bru Van Kieu ethnic group. The village isn't merely a destination, it's an invitation to witness harmony between people and nature, heritage and hospitality. So if you pass by here, just make a stop and take a look at this unique hamlet. And here we are now and starting our climb up to the legendary Samu Pass. I already can feel that the wheels of my motorbike grips the asphalt more tightly as I lean into the first curve, as the Samu Pass begins to reveal itself, one twist at a time. And that will be the case for the nearly 20 kilometers of winding mountain roads that still lies ahead of us. It is already now getting noticeably clear that this is not just a ride, this is a confrontation with one of Vietnam's wildest frontiers, as we will see soon. As the pass rises like a dragon spine through the land, each bend feels ancient, and each slope whispers a new story. It is steep and unforgiving, as well as hauntingly beautiful. The road slithers like a sleeping serpent beneath the clouds that hover like silent sentinels. Yes, it is right here where the ascent begins gently, but quickly turns into a demanding work of continuous attention. And as the engine roars, the jungle presses in and the humidity thickens considerably as I am gripped by cold and fearful sweat. But it is interesting to know that the summit remains cool even as the air changes due to the two distinct climate zones that are clashing here. It is at this location where the rainforest lushness collides with the very dry Laotian winds, which makes the ecosystem around me breathtakingly wild, beautiful, and untamed. It is also the region that breathes with the soul of the Bru Van Kieu people, a tribal community, and an ethnic minority here in the central region of the Indochina Peninsula, which is including Laos, Vietnam, and Thailand. They have lived here for generations and speak the Bru dialect, a language of the Kho branch of the Mon Khmer lingo family, and so it is to no one surprise that their spirit lingers in the land, the leaves, and in the silence of the clouds. And so it is unsurprising that this cloud-hugging remote and raw pass that is bordering the Vietnam-Laos frontier is also one of the more dangerous passes here in this land of the Vietnamese. Especially on our ascending side, as the slopes are super steep and the turns are countless, with switchbacks that come in very fast. I already noticed that my focus sharpened immensely as each turn is commanding an enormous respect, which is forcing my heartbeat to sync with this road, because here, one mistake could cost everything, and when I say this, I also mean it. Furthermore, it is well known that in the past the local people once called this the Ghost Road, for a good reason, as even as of today the terrain can be deadly and impassable during stormy days. And that is due to the many occurring landslides. Come at the wrong time and the fog is dense and the rain is unforgiving and making the road impassable. And that is also where the name, Samu, comes from, and Samu means mist. Not mist as a poetic idea, but mist as a severe obstacle and as a dangerous threat to one's life and memory. And if we talk about memory, remembrance runs deep here, because during the Vietnam War, this pass was a major strategic point. The Samu to Khe Sanh trail was a lifeline for survival, but the terrain made it a very treacherous one, as soldiers had to detour through Laos, since the direct routes was simply suicidal. Then during the war, the jungle watched, and the mountains listened, when all the weapons and supplies crossed over in silence on the backs of the soldiers through these rough and twisting paths. And so, the people and the land here are still remembering it, and that is also the reason the road which once was a battleground feels sacred and is now serving as a monument to endurance. Here in the still tall standing Truong Son mountain range, it is also interesting to know that the hot Laotian winds which normally blows here in the summer season, doesn't affect the Samu Pass climate very much, as even under the scorching sun, at the top of the summit you will feel a cool reprieve as the fresh wind is completely controlling the atmospheric conditions up here. Without any shame I must admit that this is undeniably an unforgettable experience and the perfect ride for anyone who is a seeker like me. And to put it in a short context, this is the very ideal road for the brave riders who are willing to face the challenge of the lesser-known areas. And as of today, it is no secret that this road welcomes more adventurers, the motorbike pilgrims like us, who are chasing something deeper than the normal Jack and Joe road. But even then, we must remember that safety is everything that counts here, and that nature must be respected in any conceivable way. This is certainly one of the passes that does not forgive any arrogance, because we do not conquer the Samu Pass, but we endure it, and we listen to it as we ride through it with caution and with reverence. Yes, because the Samu is not just any pass, no, it is a gateway that gives us a journey through history, nature, and the legends that are still guarding this mountain passage. And right now, as we are traversing its winding dragon spine, I finally understand why this place was feared so much, and why it still stands so majestically, so mysteriously, and so unforgettable as it is still honored as one of the truly great mountain gateways here in Vietnam. We are now closing in and traversing the former Vietnamese demilitarized zone, or also called the DMZ, which was a narrow strip of land running across from east to west here in the Quang Tri province and near to the 17th parallel. It was from 1954 to 1976 that it was marked the official boundary between the north and the southern parts of Vietnam and separating these two formerly opposing governments that were born out of the Cold War tension. The DMZ was actually established after the First Indochina War ended in 1954, and following the Geneva Accords, they decided to temporarily split Vietnam. I learned that the Geneva Accords, which led to the temporary division of Vietnam along the 17th parallel and the establishment of a DMZ, were primarily between France and the Viet Minh. And to clarify this a bit more, the Viet Minh, which was officially known as the League for the Independence of Vietnam, was the Vietnamese communist-led national liberation movement that was founded by Ho Chi Minh in 1941, with the aim to achieve independence from the French colonial rule and also to resist the Japanese occupation during the Second World War. Coming back to the signing of the Geneva Accords. The agreement was then signed following the end of the First Indochina War and aimed to establish a ceasefire and a temporary military demarcation line. While other nations like the US, UK, USSR, and China participated in the Geneva Conference, the core agreement regarding Vietnam was between France and the Viet Minh. The agreement stipulated that French forces would withdraw to the south of the 17th parallel, while the Viet Minh would control the north. And so, the northern parts of Vietnam came under the communist Viet Minh ruling regime, and South Vietnam was put under the anti-communist state of Vietnam. And as I said, the line ran approximately 76 kilometers and following the Ben Hai River, from east at the Gulf of Tonkin, to the west where the country is bordering with Laos. Sadly, and although it was described as the so-called demilitarized zone, it quickly became one of the most heavily contested battlegrounds during the Vietnam War. Instead of being a neutral buffer, the DMZ saw intense fighting, infiltration, and heavy troop presence. At one point in 1968, U.S. intelligence estimated more than 40,000 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces operating in this very area which we are now passing through. As we all already know, the war then escalated into a global Cold War proxy conflict where from 1965 to 1973, the U.S. military and the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, which was the Southern Army Force and U.S. allies, planned to build a series of bases surrounded by barbed wire, seismic and acoustic sensors, electrified fencing, and landmines along the Route 9, which is today part of the AH-16. And this was about 10 kilometers south, and parallel to the DMZ, and all this was to stem the flow of the northern Viet Cong soldiers and their supplies into the southern part of Vietnam. This series of bases became then known as the McNamara Line, so named for Robert S. McNamara, which was then the U.S. Secretary of Defense. And unfortunately, despite all the possible efforts to contain the violence, the DMZ here was anything but peaceful. Then finally in 1975, the southern parts of Vietnam fell, and so on Friday, July the 2nd, in 1976, the DMZ was officially dissolved. And that was also when the North and the South reunited to form the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, and became the country that we know as of today. As we can see quite often here on the QL15, known locally as Ho Chi Minh Tay Road, the stark reminder of encountering nature's unpredictability. We just must be prepared for landslides like this one here, which is a recent earth slip that had spilled debris across the narrow road here. It could have been anything from large rocks, uprooted trees, and thick mud that made the passage almost impossible until it has been cleaned up like now. Locals told me that landslips occur here very often, because the roads here had been cut deep into the hillside, and the natural foot slope had long been disturbed. Then mix it with heavy rains and you have the perfect recipe for a disaster that can trigger the collapse of the cliffside, that even bulged the retaining reinforced rock wall out of its place. It is always a chilling moment to see that the path forward could be blocked, as there are usually no signals, and sometimes the sheer cliff edge just meters away. These experiences remind me to appreciate safe roads in high-risk areas like these, where the beauty and danger do really coexist in equal measure. We are now in the Bac Hong Hoa Nature Reserve. This sanctuary is known as an environment with high biodiversity that is typical to the terrain of the lowest area in the Trường Sơn mountain range. The Bac Hong Hoa Nature Reserve is also the only reserve that is located to the west of the Trường Sơn range, and that comes with a remarkably diverse and rich flora and fauna resources that are listed in the Vietnamese Red Book and as well as in the World Red Book too. In particular, here the ecosystem in the reserve stretches from an altitude of 150 meters up to almost 1,700 meters above the sea level. And so there are many endemic species of flora and fauna that are of interest to many domestic and foreign scientists, and that makes it definitely even for us a cool place to explore. As you might have noticed, we just now entered the Quảng Bình province, which was formerly known as the Tien Binh prefecture when it was under the reign of Le Trung Hung of the Le dynasty, and that was until 1604 when it was renamed to Quảng Bình. And now since this year, to be precise, it was the 12th of June, and as part of a major and nationwide reform, that the Quảng Bình province was dissolved and merged with the Quảng Tri province. So technically we are in the same province. Now, historically, this region belonged to the former kingdom of the Kampa, and later it was claimed by both the Annam and the Kampa. And then in the year of 1069 it was officially annexed into Annam, by then Lai Thuong Kiet, a Lai dynasty general, which was under the reign of Lai Tan Tong. The site of the present-day Quảng Bình, which has now been absorbed into the Quảng Tri province, was the battlefields between the Kampa and the Annam. And this continued until the Vietnamese territory was expanded further south by the subsequent dynasties. The importance of the former Quảng Bình province was after the Nguyen Hong expanded. It was a prince of Nguyen lords that was sent to the south by a king of the later Le dynasty. Leader Hong built his estate and turned it into the Quảng Nam territory, which was a rival of the de facto Trinh-controlled Dang Nguai. And so Quảng Bình became an important front to defend Dang Trong from attack by Dang Nguai. Then under the French rule, this province was part of Annam, and during the Vietnam War, it was part of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, aka North Vietnam, and only 20 kilometers away from the DMZ. During the Vietnam War this province was severely devastated by the bombing from the US B-52 bombers. Moreover, This area is also home to the World Heritage Phong Nha Cơ Bang National Park, which includes the huge Sun Dome Cave and Phong Nha Cave. The region here is also home to some famous Vietnamese persons, including revered Senior General Vo Nguyen Giap, poet Han Mac Tu, writer Bao Ninh, and the family of the former South Vietnam President Ngo Dinh Diem. We just reached the Bia D Tich Chien Tang Long Ho historical landmark at this T-junction that connects the QL15 with the QL9C, which is coming from Van Cha on the east coast, and merges right here with the Ho Chi Minh West Branch. At the intersection center stands the monument that is making this location feel unique and historically significant. From here, you can head southwest over the Sa Mu Pass toward Khe Sanh, or like we are doing right now, taking the northeast route toward Long Son and further on to Khe Gat. Whichever direction you choose, the road and its surrounding landscape is offering an unforgettable, captivating view, which feels like we are passing through a region untouched by time. Here we are at the Bia Tuong Nim Tang Khai historical landmark, located right at the Tang Khai intersection, where two Bru Van Kieu villages come into view. Tang Khai sits directly at the crossroads, making it the center point of local connection and activity. Just a short climb away, Khe clings to the mountain slope, offering a more remote and elevated setting. This spot is not just scenic, it is also very symbolic. The monument here marks an important part of the Ho Chi Minh West Branch Road and links these two culturally rich communities that sit at the intersection of heritage and history to the rest of Vietnam.
No. That's a petrol pump without petrol. And for electric cars, charging station. That's a first for me here up country. full.
Phụt. Sáng tối.
Tiêu luôn này, em giấy 500.
Có tiền bữa đây mà 500.
Hả?
Không có.
Có rồi.
Không, bỏ tao.
Cái riêng có.
And if you are still here, thank you very much for being part of my journey, and I hope that you liked riding along the amazing Khe Sanh to Long Son route as much as I did. Since this part of the Duong Ho Chi Minh Tay Road is still very special and untouched by time. For now I am happily looking forward to see you back in my next part, when I will explore the tiny town of Long Son, which is nestled within the Truong Son commune, and located in the Quang Ninh district of the Quang Ben province, which just recently was absorbed into the Quang Tri province. But nevertheless, it is still a place where nature, culture, and history are still converging in quiet and peaceful harmony. The Long Son village sits near here to the Laos border and along the historic Ho Chi Minh Trail that is surrounded by misty mountains and dense forest. Moreover, also this hamlet is the home to the proud Bru Van Kieu people, which is a tribal community that is preserving a rich cultural heritage through its stilt houses, traditional instruments, and folk songs that are echoing across these valleys. Long Son is also the place where daily life still follows long-standing traditions, such as slash-and-burn farming, rice cultivation, and forest gathering continue to be part of the local routine. In recent years, these practices have been joined by sustainable tourism. Visitors now come to hike jungle trails, take part in local festivals, and observe cultural rituals that pay respect to the land and ancestors. This village is not just a settlement, it's a stronghold of tradition, where heritage is preserved and the past remains present in the quiet rhythm of life. If this sounds interesting to you, please hit the like button and do not forget to subscribe. With subscribing, you are not only helping my channel, but also yourself by not missing my next episode. It will be a new adventure where I will pierce even further into the lesser-known parts of the Vietnam border areas and discover the fascinating and sometimes very dark and almost hidden side of Vietnam's very last and virtually forgotten frontiers.